And I want to believe you can all hear me loud and clear. So let's just get started. As we start, I believe more people will join us along the way. So this week we have a lot of fundamental events, but then I'll pick out the key ones which will likely impact upon the market. Yeah, good morning, Michael Asuko and Ms. Omotasho, good morning to you. All right, so today, Monday, we have JPY bank holiday. So in Japan, there's bank holiday today. Good morning, Madam Anaji. And we have more fundamental activity, as in, sorry, medium impact fundamental activity today. So we really don't expect much volatility from majority of them. But then on Tuesday, we have CPI from Australia by 1:30 a.m. and three events, CPI monthly, CPI yearly, and we have the trimmed mean CPI. So volatility is expected Wednesday morning by 1:30 a.m. from Australia. And on Thursday, the key event on Thursday will be the employment claims from United States. And Friday, we'll have GDP from Canada, core PPI, and PPI monthly from United States. These are just the key events for this week. Majorly having just like one event, per day, especially from Wednesday downwards. All right, so let's take note of these events. We don't have any live trading session this week, but possibly or hopefully we should have next week when we have the next NFP. That's if the next NFP will take place on first Friday, then we should have NFP by next week because by then we'll have crossed into the month of March. All right, so with that being said, I'm switching over straight to the chart. We'll look at the technicals for this week. Now, on the technicals, I'll be looking at the higher time frames, but then I'm also going to have a look at a few instruments on the lower time frame also for those who prefer lower time frames. So on the higher time frames, I have quite a number I'll be sharing with us. I might have to reduce it because of time. Last week, I gave my view on the Euro CHF, and I still maintain that outlook on the Euro CHF. Hopefully, there should be more volatility this week to drive price to the bullish direction. I'm searching for it now. I had a bullish outlook on the Euro CHF for last week, and price eventually closed as a rejection candle on the weekly time frame, and around a psychological level 0.91000. So that is acting as a support. And there's a lower trend line, having lower lows, and lower lows. So technically, I still maintain my bullish outlook on the Euro CHF. If you switch over to 4-hour time frame, though there is a minor resistance presently, but if price is able to break out above that minor resistance, we should see a further bullish movement on the Euro CHF. So I still maintain my bullish outlook on the Euro CHF pending when price breaks out, above this current resistance level. Muhyiddin Shurunke, my MT5 is not working. I don't know whether it applies only to me. That should apply only to you. Generally, the platform is working. So maybe you should just check your connection, check if your internet is properly connected, because that's always the first thing to check. If your MetaTrader is not working, check if your internet is really, working. Check if the app is connecting to your internet also. So once that is confirmed, I believe your device, I mean your platform should be able to work. So I maintain my bullish outlook on the Euro CHF. And this week now, I'll be taking a look at AUD card. For AUD card on the weekly, even starting from the monthly time frame, I've been watching this for like a couple of weeks now. I have a descending trend line on the monthly time frame, and a resistance price, having a confluence between the descending trend line and the resistance. So technically, we're expecting a further bearish movement. And taking it down to the 4 hour, currently we have a rising wedge and a double top forming, at this resistance zone. So if price is able to break out downwards, then we should have a big breakout this week. Now, don't forget that we have minimal fundamental as a minimal tradable fundamental event this week. So we should expect a lot of technical action, on a lot of pairs this week. So I have a bearish outlook on AUD card for this week. It's a 4 hour, it's a swing. So I'm expecting the breakout to the bearish direction in the course of the week. So while I'm bearish on the AUD card, I'm actually bullish on the GBP AUD. Can see that for the AUD card, the AUD is the base currency. For the GBP, AUD is the quote currency. So if AUD card is going to be selling, there's a possibility we may have a bullish outlook on the GBP AUD. Now, the idea is not to trade both of them, but to trade the one that triggers first or has a higher level of probability. For the GBP AUD, price is in an uptrend and price touched the trend line the third time. Technically, we should be having a breakout to the upside. And there's a previous resistance turn support from this zone, you know, down to the current price level. That may also have its impact on the bullish reversal on price. This whole area is just a general range, but here we have an actual resistance turn support. So that could actually impact upon price and push price to the upside. Now on the 4 hour time frame, now there are two sides to this. On the 4 hour, there is a falling wedge pattern right here. And if we take it down to like 15 minutes time frame, oh, it's still looking too big. So let's do 1 hour. All right. So on the 1 hour time frame, we're expecting a breakout. Price may retrace before the breakout, but what is important is that there's a breakout. If there's a breakout of price, then you can look at taking a buy. RSI is already above 50 mark. This is already above zero. So it's actually in that buy zone. We're only waiting for the breakout to happen. Though there's a minor resistance here. If price is able to break out above the trend line and minor resistance, we should expect some movement, that can generate about 30, let's just say 30 pips to Fibonacci 50 and 70 pips to Fibonacci 1.8. And that is very possible in the course of today. So we have the 1 hour out breakout to watch out for on the the GBP AUD. And if you're a swing trader, you want more pips to catch, then you can come up to the 4 hour. Now on the 4 hour, if price breaks out to the upside, there's a bigger trend line to break up here. And the second trend line to form a falling wedge pattern. So if price is able to break out RSI above 50, MACD above zero, there will be a long, massive, sustained movement of price that can span the entire week. And that can give as much as wherever the breaker happens, though, there could be a reaction of a retracement around this area because of the uh, trend line, the resistance zone that this area is forming along with the Fibonacci. So price will need to break above this area too before you can trigger a buy. But anytime the coast is clear, you can look at taking as much as about 132 pips of Fibonacci 38.2, about 267, 255 pips to Fibonacci 50, and as much as about 396 pips to Fibonacci 1.8. So the choice is just how you want to take it, either as an intraday or a swing trade, and that should depend largely on your trading style also. So we have a 1 hour breakout and a 4 hour breakout to catch on the GBP AUD. And finally, I'll be looking at the GBP JPY for this week. I seem to be looking more at the GBP, but that's what the market is giving anyway. We only trade what the market is giving. We don't force trades. Now for the GBP JPY, this is my view on the GBP JPY. Just a second. Now this particular one should be done with a lot of caution. Why am I saying a lot of caution? On the daily time frame, sorry, weekly time frame, pardon me, price is having a series of higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Technically, we should have the next wave of movement, to the upside. I think there's equally a resistance, a minor resistance turn support right here. So that should give us an upside movement. But on the other hand, also, we'll not neglect the fact that we have a perfect looking bearish engulfing candlestick pattern here. So it's possible to have a retracement to the upside, then eventually a major breakout. So it can just be a short-term buy and a longer term sell. So I want us to watch that closely. So even though I'm saying it's could be a bullish trade, it doesn't mean that you want to sit forever in it, because there could be a major reversal after a while. But for now, let's just look at that upside movement. So on the weekly time frame, we've been able to establish an upside movement. On the 4 hour, I'm looking at the possibility of a reversal on 4 hour. Now it's not looking so sharp, but what I'm seeing here is looking a lot like an inverse head and shoulder, which may trigger price, to the upside, to the short-term upside. Now, I'm emphasizing that. Now, price may target Fibonacci. The nearest Fibonacci level is Fibonacci 30.2 at about 50 pips, and Fibonacci 50 at about 140. I don't want us to go beyond Fibonacci 50, because anything will happen around Fibonacci 50. If the volatility is strong, maybe it can go to 61.8 at about 227 pips, but let the focus be Fibonacci 50, because anything can actually happen around that Fibonacci 50. So we have roughly about, if this analysis works out as done, between 50 pips to about 130 pips to catch on the GBP JPY. So I want us to watch that very, very closely in the course of this week. All right, that'll be all from my end this morning. I'll address a few instruments that is posted. So if you have, like somebody already posted as to check gold, I'll definitely do that. So if you want me to check another instrument, you can as well go ahead and post it. But then I'll just quickly give a little recap on the instruments I've mentioned so far. I said I'm bullish on Euro CHF from the last week analysis. It's still very valid this week. I'm bearish on AED card for this week, both AED card on 4 hour. Then I'm bullish on the GP AUD both on 1 hour and 4 hour, and I'm bullish on the GBP JPY. All right, now I mentioned that I also check an instrument on a lower time frame, and that's Euro USD. So I'm looking at Euro USD. Okay, let's see. Okay, price seems to be, if this, now we have a descending trend line, right here on the 4 hour time frame, price making lower highs, and here a lower high, coupled with a support turned resistance. So this region here becomes a confluence zone where we could expect some reversal. It's not a major reversal, it's a minor one. And we can as well go down to like 30 minutes time frame. Now the 30 minutes, you can see that price is still forming a resistance at this current level. So if this resistance holds, we're expecting to see a reversal to the downside. So all things being equal, if it works out as analyzed, we should be looking possibly at about 13 pips to Fibonacci 30.2, about 24 pips to Fibonacci 50, in about 34 pips to Fibonacci 61.8. So we have between 13 pips and 34 pips to catch on the Euro USD. So you there you are, a short-term trader. You look at the shorter time frame, like 15, 30 minutes. This is something you can pay attention to. All right. So let's move on to gold. Now, when the week opened last night, there was a massive movement on gold. There was this massive breakout. The week started on that note. Now, one thing is certain, gold may continue to this resistance level. So you can go to a lower time frame, like 15 minutes, to look for potential entry. Currently, on the 15 minutes, we can see that price is in a range. So you want to wait for a breakout, a retest, and a continuation. That's what I advise would go. Let me go to, it still applies on 30 minutes. It will still apply on 30 minutes. A breakout, a retest, a continuation. The goal is still to go and hit that resistance up there, because from that resistance, that's where you can have a major reaction where price could either, finally reverse, because it may end up forming a double top pattern upon hitting that level. Or we may see a breakout, a retest, and a further long-term bullish breakout. So for now, we're only expecting price to break out, retest, and continue, to that resistance up there. That may be the move for the entire week, except there's a change in the market structure or market condition. So I'm bullish on gold. All right. Billions Unlimited, that's for Mr. Guchuku. Billions Unlimited is asking me to check AUD JPY and US 30. And this is NZD, not AUD. So let me scroll to AUD JPY. Now for AUD JPY, I have a bearish outlook, and this is my view. Now, a couple of weeks back, we had a reversal pattern from two Marubozu, bullish, bearish, which technically should lead to a bearish reversal. It's on the resistance zone. But then last week, instead of that reversal, we saw a retracement. So there's a likelihood the reversal may actually take place this week. So from the weekly time frame, we are bearish on the AUD JPY. And on the daily, I'm seeing the formation of a shoulder, a head, possibly a second shoulder, and the next wave should be a downward movement. All right, so we have a head and shoulder forming on the daily time frame. And if we zoom down to 4 hour, Well, I seem not to be so clear at the moment. But what is important is that if this is giving us an outlook of a daily head and shoulder pattern, then we can as well wait for price to break out to the lower side here, and we can trigger a sell from there downwards. So I'm bearish on the AUD JPY. Now, if this works out, that means we're getting ready for a long-term bearish movement of the AUD JPY. Though it may not drop. It all depends on market condition. It may not drop straight to 100, but at least it may drop as much as to Fibonacci 50 or 61.8 before any other reversal, happens. So I'm bearish on the AUD JPY, and price is projected to drop to about Fibonacci 23.6 at about 93 pips, Fibonacci 38.8 at about 304 pips, Fibonacci 50 at 487 pips, and Fibonacci 61.8 as much as about 631 pips. That's actually a massive one, all things being equal. So I hold a bearish outlook on the AUDJPY. US30 and CHFJPY. All right. So let's check US30. For US30, on the daily time frame, we can see price forming a sharp looking rising wedge. Technically, we should expect a breakout to the downside, but then until that breakout happens, we can as well perceive price, because price is doing a lot of series of higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, on and on. And we may also as well look at a higher high. So it all depends on where the breakout happens, either to the upside for another higher high or to the downside for a breakout. But we'll prepare for both scenarios. All right. Now on the 4 hour time frame, we have a range zone right here. It's actually a support. Okay. It's actually a support touching the trend line. So let's go back. You can see the higher lows right here. Another higher low. There are a lot of other ones in the past, and this region is another higher low. So we might be seeing a move to the upside. It can be either direction. There are times when the market can go in either of the directions. It all depends on the forces of demand and supply. All right. So we might be seeing a move to the upside. However, if there's a lot of volatility, if price breaks out below this region, then we are ready for a downward movement. So I'll say that we're on a short-term buy and a long-term sell on DJ30, or otherwise called the US30. So the person asking should take note of that. Then we have CHFJPY. All right. You're welcome, sir. Billions Unlimited. All right. So this is CHFJPY. Now, I'll start with the smaller time frame. On the 30 minutes time frame, which we're seeing right here, I'm seeing a symmetrical triangle. Now, when you have a symmetrical triangle, it means price can break out either direction. So watch out. In the course of this morning session, there could be a breakout. Price breaks out to the upside, that means you're buying. And you can target each of the eyes as a profit-taking level at each of these two eyes. That means you can make between some 10 pips to as much as about 30 pips, on the upside movement. If it's on the downside, you can look at this last two lows, and that means you can make profit in the range of 10 pips again, and about 17, 15, 17 pips. That's if you're trading on the 30 minutes time frame. But let's go to the bigger picture for those who like uh bigger moves in the market. Now you can see that NZ CHJPY also, just like what we saw on the, I think, the HDJPY, it closed as a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, which technically should be a bearish movement. That's a couple of weeks back. Last week was a slightly bullish movement, but with a bearish engulfing, we should have a downward movement. And just like the ADJPY, I'm seeing a head and shoulder pattern, which can lead to a major bearish movement. Again, we have a rising wedge pattern right here to support a bearish movement. So as a swing trader, if you're a swing trader, this could be a major trade for you to watch out for in the course of this week, this daily time frame. And as a confirmation, you can see that price, it got rejected. The last candle there for last Friday's rejection candle on the daily time frame. That is an indication of a potential reversal. So this region here can as well be our neckline region, where we expect price to break out below for the head and shoulder breakout. If this pattern works out just as I've analyzed, then we may see price drop in the coming weeks. It may not be this week alone. This is a long-term movement. Can go as much as 270 pips of Fibonacci 38.2, as much as 530 pips of Fibonacci 50, and as much as 790 or close to like 800 pips of Fibonacci 61.8. So we have a long-term bearish movement on the CHFJPY. That should be on the 4 entry, should be on the 4 hour. And the conditions to look out for your entry is one, price clearly breaking out below the neckline region. Very important. Now please, I take note, I did not say take a sell now. Wait for price to clearly break out below this level before you trigger a sell. And your confirmation, further confirmation also will be RSI clearly below 0 and your MACD below 50. Very important for swing trades. So those are the conditions to look out for to trigger a sell on the CHF JPY. All right, I think I've attended to all the questions and all the requests here. So
Please, I have a question, sir.
go ahead, sir.
Okay, now a situation whereby gold break and retest 5143. What could be the probability? What can we expect, sir?
Okay, so let's go to gold. He said in case gold breaks 513. So where is 513?
Yeah, if we retrace, yeah. That if you retest it, not breaking it, if you retest it.
Just okay. Now 513, you can see it falls exactly on the support zone which I drew here. So if it drops here and does not break it, then we expect it to at least bounce back to the next resistance level, which is the upper part of this box. So if that happens, you may want to come to a lower time frame like 5 minutes to look out for an entry, for that upside movement. So let's say it drops down to this level, then you may want to draw a trend line and you want to trade the breakout as you have a bullish candle breakout above this area. Still confirm with at least with your RSI above 0. MACD may not be more compulsory, but at least confirm with your RSI above 0 before you trigger a buy. Then you can target the upper side here. I hope that's clear, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah,
Right.
very clear.
You're welcome. All right, so with that, we've come to the end of today's money analysis. Don't forget to join us by 12:30 p.m. for the afternoon session. And this week we have a lot of, training events for you. Today, Monday, we have online training session. Same thing Wednesday, and physical training sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Hope to see you in all these events. For the physical session, definitely for those who are living around Lagos or Abuja, then make sure you find yourself at our offices for these sessions. Now, take note that our training sessions, we do not charge. So I don't like to call it free, though we don't charge for it because you're expected to have a live trading account and possibly funded, to be a part of that session. So we hope to see you. All right. Later in the day, we'll get to see each other again. Bye for now.